So you've chosen to be a water healer in DC Universe Online. This video will detail everything you need to know about water healing. In terms of timestamps, you'll find them in the description of the video as well as the comment section, pinned comment. This will take you to each relevant section of the guide. So if you're looking for just the artifacts, rotation, augments, skill points, spec, you'll find all those shortcuts there, or if you need to rewatch a current section. So with water healing, I will kind of put a disclaimer out right away. So water healing has technically three, if you want to call it three different ways to heal. One of them is using a system called Hightide, if I find it here. So when you're in Hightide, different abilities with water grant different effects for DPS and healing. But the Hightide for healing is not effective at all. It's just something that never really works out. It's made really redundant by artifacts. So what I mean by that is, Hightide in general, once you're in Hightide, it's a 30-second cooldown. So you have to use abilities to lower the cooldown, which means you're stuck spamming Tsunami Strikes, which is only going to heal the most injured group member. And then it's just awkward for mechanics because you have to use Tsunami Strikes the entire time, or you're missing the benefits of using Hightide. But if we look at like a power like Mending Wave, so it says in Hightide, Mending Wave will critically heal. Well, if I'm using Transformation Card, it's going to crit heal anyway. So it's made redundant by that ability. Same thing, like if you're using shields, a bubble, that means no effects for Hightide. So, and if I'm hitting Tempest Guard, which is the weakest shield, it's going to heal. It's going to grant a heal when the shield ends. Well, same thing. I don't really need that. There's another one where, like, say, Blessing of the Depths. So Blessing of the Depths, it is an 8-man heal, which is really nice, and it changes it instead of a burst heal to heal over time. Well, with Mending Wave, if I'm using Purple Healing Ray, my group heal is going to heal over time. So it's just, or I think there's another power. Where am I looking at? Is it the priority? Yeah, so like by the priority healing, if I'm Hightide, the healing is increased. Well, if I'm using Orb, or if you would use Orb as an artifact, it's going to have that effect anyway. So it's just Hightide, not only is it a weaker heal power set in general using Hightide, it also is most of its effects are negated by artifacts. So obviously artifacts weren't around when water came out, but it's made completely redundant. So I'm not going to be talking about Hightide in this video at all, because this is everything you need to know about water healing, not everything to know about water healing. So you don't need to know about Hightide because it's just going to confuse things, and it's not even the better heal side. So let's touch on skill points. So along with other healers, it's going to be superpowered Spec. Hybrid, yes, it'd be nice for the stats, but as a tank, you can realistically combo with weapons because you have the time. Healers, there's being a lot of times where you're not going to have the ability to regen with your weapons or use weapon combos in between. And if you're a hybrid spec not using weapons, your regen is going to be completely tanked. It's going to be severely impacted. So with hybrid, you have to be using weapon combos in between to be able to regen power correctly. That is kind of offsetted by Purple Healing Ray, but still, because once I touch on Purple Healing Ray and the artifacts, but still, it's much more recommended and something I would feel comfortable with always being superpowered spec for healing in general. So, critical healing chance, you can put 20 into there. Critical healing magnitude, you can be putting 40. You're going to be maxing out restoration. So now at this point, we'll touch on the other innate skill points here before I go back to the main tree. So iconic powers, you can be taking Pheromone Bloom. Super speed, I just take the critical innate. So you can take whichever on the second row. I just take dash attack just to get down there. But I do like the move emote innate recoveries. So the same thing if you're acrobatics or flight or skimming. I prefer these as healing just to be able to, because every time you break out, you're going to be getting that breakout or CC'd or knockdown, whatever you are. If you break out, you get that power return. So kind of power is king as healing. So for weapons, this is more your personal preference. Usually I stick to about 3 different weapons, or what I recommend is 3 different healing for weapons for healing. So if you have a low amount of skill points, I would pick Hand Blasters, because you only have to take Solar Flame. So Hand Blaster Solar Flame will be great supercharged regen. It's a nice quick combo you can always clip onto with with any of your healer abilities, and it only takes 3 skill points. So that's your primary option. Personally, I like to use dual flurry shots. That means I'm going to have to spec out the dual tree. interesting. There we go. And then go back to bow. So maxing a bow, going back to dual wield, and taking explosive shot and flurry shot. So that is my preference. The other ones you could do is Brawling Storm. So if you're using Brawling Storm Mastery, you'd spec out the entire Brawling tree, the entire Martial Arts tree, and then go back to Brawling, and then take a Storm Mastery. So that's basically your options there. So Brawling Storm Mastery will give you a bit of extra AoE damage. Flurry Shot obviously is going to be single target damage, or AoE if you're using Explosive Shot. And Handblaster Solar Flame will be for those lower skill point situations. So now that we've done that, and obviously you're not going to have 574 skill points remaining, so just kind of ignore that. If you watch any of the other Healer Series videos, I'm going to tell you not to spec Dominance. Water is the exception to that. Because water, you are using, one of the features of water is having two shields. You have Tempest Guard and Bubble, and then you also technically have Flood of Power, which Flood of Power is a personal shield. So specking Dominance for water is something that you can do. The reason why you can do that is because not only do you have the effects of Purple Healing Ray most of the time for Might and Power, but you also have Flood of the Power itself. So Flood of Power basically gives you back your full power bar, resets the entire cooldowns, and then you go back into your healing. So water is very power efficient because of that supercharge. So even if the controller dies or the group is just really low on power, you have that supercharge regen. So every 30 seconds you can have your entire full power bar back, all your cooldowns reset. In any case, so it's just very power efficient, and not that you're going to have a lot of dom anyway, but it's just kind of more the merrier for water because of those shield mechanics. So that's why I would spec into at least put into 100 into dom, get you that 10%. While the numbers itself is going to be inconsequential compared to, say, running like an OP item, which I'll touch on with the gear, but it just makes more sense. You don't need to spec health. Really is water because you have that Flood of Power. You're going to be shielded by Bubble, you're going to be shielded by Tempest Guard, and you're going to be shielded by Flood of Power, which is the second strongest personal shield behind Mass Density from the Atomic Tanking tree. So it's just health isn't necessary. So whatever skill points you have, you can put some extra into Might and Power just so you have some extra power pool, but it's not necessary. You can always put everything into Dom just to have those shields a little bit stronger. So we're going to touch on gear mods now. So for our weapon, we're going to be replenishing adapter for that power restore. Restored adapter, there's no point. So if you think of it like a weapon attack is going to heal you and up to 3 group members for a small amount. If I have the power return from replenishing adapter, say if I am low on power and Flood of Power is on cooldown or something like that, I can have that power return, and if I hit one group heal is going to be infinitely more healing than you're going to get from restored adapter. So like I said before, kind of power is king with healing. So take replenishing adapter. Helmet is always going to be Flood of Power, which is going to be down here, supercharged Flood of Power. Even if you're in a gem spam rotation, it's still more important to have Flood of Power first, or over like Pheromone Bloom. Neck mod is going to be always Focused Restoration. Back mod for water, we're going to have Accelerated Bubble or Accelerated Solid Disease. So you have a couple options here. So Mending Wave you don't have to worry about because that's your group heal. And then your group heal is going to be reset by the cooldown of Purple Healing Ray regardless. And it's not like you're going to need a faster group heal anyways. Bubble is going to be your shield. And the Solid Heals is that 12-second cooldown. So it just all depends. The reason why I don't do Accelerated Solid Disease is because usually if you are using that power, you are using it in combination with Riptide to basically reset the cooldown. So Riptide, you can't reset, you can't get faster anyway. It's going to be 12 seconds. So I'd much rather take Accelerated Bubble because you're going to have to be waiting for the cooldown of Riptide anyway. So for chest mods, you're going to be looking at power efficiency. Now, I should say if you're not going to be running Scrap of the Soul Cloak, I would take Extended Supercharge. So it's kind of the option. If you're using Scrap of the Soul Cloak for like a supercharged regen build, then you can take Extended Supercharge. If you're not, you can take Power Efficiency, so you can use more heals. But in this case, since we're running I should say both. So we'll take both. I should say that because there's two different ones. There's a pure healing loadout, and then there's technically there's three. There's the pure healing, gem span, and shield rotation loadout. So for now, we're going to put power efficiency in, but we'll keep that off to the side. So for legs, nothing's going to scale anyway. You're not using crashing tides. You're not using water spouts. I mean, riptide, you're using riptide, but I mean, the healing is inconsequential, and it's to yourself anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So don't worry about leg mods. Hand mods, there's nothing that's going to impact water, so you're just taking the default of max damage. And your foot mod, I would always recommend Tumbling Master, just to be able to get that increased survivability in terms of your dodge roll not being interruptible, and you get a little bit extra movement out of it as well, in terms of dodge distance. So, we'll jump over to Augments. So your Augments, this screen may look a little bit different depending on what your mentor is. My mentor is Superman, so this is a meta look. If you are Wonder Woman, Cersei, you're going to have Wonder Woman with Cersei. You're going to have the magic one here, or if you're Batman, you're going to have the gadgets one, technically here, the tech one. So it's still going to be the same type of augments. It's just the screen UI is going to look a bit different here. So if that throws you off, don't worry about it. So in your head mods or your adaptive augments are always going to be restoring. So these ones are going to be specific per episode. So just because mine says restoring Speed Force Cell doesn't mean yours will. This is just the ones from Flashpoint. So these are going to change with each DLC episode. Your origin augments are going to stay the exact same. These are always going to be restoring. So implant is just with the meta one. You're going to have a different word, but that's always going to be restoring at the bottom. So touching back on artifacts here. So artifacts, we basically have, again, two sets of artifacts depending on what build we're doing. So if you're running a pure healing build, it's going to be a little bit different here. So in this case, with water, you're not using transformation card. So you can kind of toss that to the side. So we're going to be using Purple Healing Ray, Page of Destiny, and Eye of the Gemini. This is going to be our pure healing build. Normally with pure healing, you would use that transformation card, but in this case, because Flood of the Power is so powerful as water, not only does it grant yourself a shield, but it resets your entire cooldown, which I'll show in the rotation example. But Flood of Power is just one of the strongest utility powers in the entire game ever. So that's why you want to make sure you can earn this as often as you can, even in the pure healing. And then obviously Purple Healing Ray, which I'll show for an example later on. But with Purple Healing Ray, healing charges your Purple Healing Ray up to 4 times your total restorations. What that means is that if you have it at rank 120 or 160, it's going to say 5 times. So my restoration right now is 65,754. So I would have to heal 5 times that number to be able to proc it. Or at rank 200, it's 4 times. So 4 times 65,754. That's the amount I have to heal in general to be able to proc that ability. Once I've proc that ability, I have 2 choices. If I hit my priority heal, I'm going to grant myself and your target a shield equal to 2 times your restoration. That's going to absorb 20% incoming damage for 8 seconds. And it resets both and gives 20% power back. Or I can hit my group heal, which will place a healing over time on myself and my allies for 8 seconds, and then increases the heal over time value, as well as resets both the cooldowns and restores 20% power. So just a borderline OP healing artifact. Page of Destiny. So each time I hit a group heal, it's going to place a stack of Revivify on a player if they're above 40% health. So you can do max stacks of 10. So when you have 10 stacks on a player, or it doesn't matter, you can have 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks. When that player's health drops below 40%, Revivify will kick in, and then all those healing stacks will heal based on how many stacks there were to that player. So it's basically like a rescue heal, but it's completely passive. All you have to do is hit a group heal within 30 seconds, and it's going to refresh all your stacks and keep going until that player's health drops. So increase healing from group heal by 20% for targets below 40% health. So that's the addition at, I think that's rank 160. And then at 200, Or is it 120? I think it's 120, and then the increased healing is 160. 200 is definitely the group heal. Heals additional 2 targets. So from yourself and 3, it's an extra 2. So it's going to be 6 altogether, including yourself. And now the Gemini, what you have to pay attention to here is Caster's Watch ability. So it restores 3% health and 2% supercharge every second. When Caster's Watch expires, all the allies within it are healed for the amount of health restored by Caster's Watch. And then at 200, it gets you 5% Dom, health, and restoration. So the other point I should touch on with gear for water especially is you want to be able to look at your older OP items. So OP items or items of omnipotence are earned throughout DLC episodes in terms of either like collections or fortify them like artifacts. But what you want to pay attention to is that, say, for right now, this is the CR or item level 295 helmet. This one is 292, which is 3 items lower because this is technically, this is the World of Flashpoint gear. This is the OP head from Wonderverse, which is 2 DLCs ago. But you can see the stats on it. I'm losing 129 resto, which is a marginal, but I gain like 500 health, or sorry, 500 like defense, 700 health. I'm also gaining 2,500 dominance. So that goes into your shields. So that goes into Tempest Guard, that'll go into Bubble, that'll go into Flood of Power. Also, it helps your heals a little bit, but don't worry about that in the healing formula. That's more important for the shields. So this is just something you want to pay attention to as water. Even if you lose a tiny bit of resto from wearing an older OP head, like the OP legs or head or back, you want to make sure you're always going for OP items as water because it's going to help you tremendously because of those extra stats. So that's just something to pay attention to. So ideally for water, I would always wear this, and then I would go back into my helmet and then put a Flood of Power on that. Not Word of Power, Flood of Power. And I already have the OP face, so I'm going to have the extra dominance from there. And if I did have the back leveled, at least on live server, if you're watching this video, you have the OP back, so you have to gain the extra dominance and all the extra stats from that as well. So the only other, you have another situation here if you're going for like a pure, like gems, not even necessarily gem spam, but if you want to just make sure you're using multiple shields, you'd be dropping Purple Healing Ray and then taking Scrap of Soul Cloak. So this just ensures that you can use Flood of Power guaranteed every 30 seconds, or if you're using like Pheromone Bloom as well and dual supercharge, you're taking Page of Destiny just because it's a very important rescue heal. And then you're taking either Gemini and Scrap just to make sure you're always having that. And then if you're using Scrap of Soul Cloak, make sure you're not running Extended Supercharge because it's not going to stack as it says there. So this does not stack with the Extended Supercharge tactical mod. And if you have some extra money laying around, or if you already have all these artifacts and you're looking for one on sale, Philosopher's Stone is very handy for healers. Each supply drop you drop doubles the duration of your health regeneration, damage buff, and power free casting for yourself. That's at rank 200. So that one is very nice because the power free casting. So even if you don't have it at 200, even if you have it like 160, so each free power reduces the cooldown. So with your healing, say the troll goes down, or you're in a situation where you really have to spam heals, you can drop Philosopher's Stone and not have to worry about using any power for that initial burst. So it's just a handy artifact to have. It is not necessary whatsoever. You know, I'm not saying go spend the money and getting that artifact. It's just something you can level up if you don't already have the main 4 or 5 artifacts leveled. And for consumables, the only consumable you have to worry about is going to be Nutri. So the Bulldozer consumable for water, it's not going to be enough Dom to make up any difference. The Bulldozer are much lower compared to other stats. You'd still want to focus on your healing for this, as well as feeding into like the Purple Healing Ray. So you still want to be able to take a Resto consumable and just have Dom from your skill points and your OP items. So Affinity Mods. So in the Watchtower, at least, and if you go to the Tech Wing, it's going to be Affinity Mod Generator. So we're going to pop over there, grab the Affinity Mods, and then show you which ones to get. Okay, so I can't speak to the Hall of Doom, but at least in the Watchtower, it's the Tech Wing in the corner here. we want to be able to take Restoration A, Restoration B, Healing Conversion, which means once installed, you're now the Restoration A and B is much easier to attain. It's only 4 elite pieces. I'm not saying you have to have 6 or 8 pieces of elite. I know that's not going to be practical for a lot of players. Like casual players, you don't have to worry about maxing out your elite gear. The 6 and elite 8 procs for this aren't really beneficial. They help, but they're not worth just going out to get elite gear just to get these pieces. So your priority heal will reduce the power cost of your next superpower you use within 15 seconds. That's handy, but you don't have to get 6 pieces of elite gear just to justify getting that. And your other one is Field Medic. Field Medic, once again, it grants a visible aura to heal nearby allies. They basically have to be like hugging you, like right beside you to be able to heal. And the heals are really insignificant. So it's just something to take just because you can, but don't feel obligated to get 8 pieces of elite gear because it's 100% not worth it. So before we go to our lair, we're going to jump and get our generator mods as well. So with generator mods, it's going to really depend on where you're at in the game. So generator mods from previous DLCs would drop from basically generator mod caches. So you'd earn them in content, basically drop a box, open the box, pick your generator mod. In some DLCs, they're going to have them actually on the vendor to purchase. So in this case, in Flashpoint, you can purchase it from the vendor or purchase the plans and upgrade them, etc. But in this case, we're looking for restoration. So we're going to take 4 of these. And we're going to be taking power, so we're taking 4 of those. And for your reds, it doesn't matter, just depends what you are on the DPS stance. So if you're water, prac, water, might, doesn't matter. You take whichever to impact that. So now we're going to go to our lair. So in your lair, you're going to have your generator here. Open up your generator, and then basically you're just slotting the mods. So Restoration A, Restoration B, Healing Conversion, Field Medic, and then putting in your 4 resto mods into your yellows. And then your 4 power mods in. And like I said before, you don't have to worry about your reds. That's just whatever your DPS stance is. And your general ones, these are just dropped in content. So you're going to have urgent war fronts, bases in the calls, etc. So, but that doesn't going to impact your healing. So now let's jump over and touch on the loadouts. Okay, so for loadouts for water, you basically have technically 3 options. So you have a main healing build, you have a shield focused build, and then technically you have a Gemini spam build if you're spamming supercharge. All that is just taking a separate second supercharge and dropping bubble, which I'll show you here, but I mean that's all it is for loadout wise. So regardless, it's always going to start with, where did it go here? Soothing Mist, sorry. Soothing Mist is going to be a priority heal. So what a priority heal is going to heal yourself and your most injured group member. Next is going to be your group heal, Mending Wave. So Mending Wave, it's going to heal yourself and 3 others. This is what ties into the purple healing ray. Next, you're going to be taking Solace of the Seas. Solace of the Seas is your main heal over time. It's 12 seconds. It has a very large radius as well. This is your NPC heal ability. So if you have like tanks that are brick, or if you have allies like Superman or Wonder Woman, whatever in the raid that they're taking damage, Solace of the Seas is your only heal ability that's going to heal those pet abilities as well. Even if you have like a Source Shard DPS using pet trinkets or henchmen or whatever, the only water ability you have to heal pets that are NPCs is Solace of the Seas. Next we have Bubble. That's going to be yourself and your 3-man shield. Now I have a power called Riptide. So Riptide is unique to water. So basically this resets the previous cooldown of the superpower that you use. So basically you could use Bubble, Riptide, Bubble, Solace, Riptide, Solace, etc. You don't have to worry about these because Purple Healing Ray is going to reset the cooldown on Soothing Mist and Mending Wave anyway. So that'd be redundant if you did that. And then we're ending this with Flood of Power. Flood of Power is the strongest utility supercharge in the game. In terms of base shield multiplier, it's right behind mass density. So surround yourself in water, granting yourself power and immunity to control effects, shielding yourself from incoming damage, and reducing your cooldown. So basically, you know, it not only shields you, but grants you power and immunity control effects. So just a perfect utility supercharge to be able to use. And it's 30 seconds, and it's only a 5,000 power cost. That should be noted that other supercharges, like for other healers, were changed to 10,000 because of their spammability. But Flood of Power is left at 5,000 because Flood of Power is technically not a heal supercharge, it's a utility one. So that's going to be your main healing one. Your other loadout is going to be your shield focused one. So all your shield focused one. Solace disease, which I'll kind of show here as well. Make sure I'm not going to be in combat for anything. But if I use Solace, it's a massive animation. And you can see here, it's a little obnoxious with the water pool. So if you summon this, or you summon technically 4 of them once I get to the actual rotation, it can cover mechanics, which is a big no-no for players. It can be really, depending on the raid, it can be really annoying. As well as technically, if I jumped and summoned Solace, it's going to summon in the air. So now if I'm a player trying to DPS, I've got this like water zone right in the middle of my head here, and I have to like position my camera angle around it. So it's not like circle protection, which is only on the ground. Solace will be summoned in the air. So once again, depending how you use Solace, it can be quite frustrating to the group. So that's why in a main shield focus build, you're dropping that. So you're taking Bubble and then Tempest Guard. So Tempest Guard is your 8-man shield. It's not the strongest shield in game. It's more for mitigating damage, but it still has a base shield multiplier that's higher than like if you've ever been in controller power, the Tempest Guard is stronger than the controller shields. And then Riptide here, and then still Flood of Power. And like I said, for the third example, technically, I mean, all you're doing is taking another supercharge, taking Bloom. So I mean, technically you can drop Riptide if you wanted to and take Solace. I mean, it's all a gem spam is taking 2 supercharges. That's all it is. And then you'd be running like Scrap the Soul Cloak as well. So you'd be dropping like Purple Healing Ray and taking Scrap. So that's all it's going to be in a gem spam rotation. So you have some options there. You can take Riptide if you want to do Bubble Riptide Bubble and have double bubbles out, or you can just drop Bubble and take Solace, so you can have double Solace out, etc. So you've got some options. It's just that making sure you keep your priority, your group heal. You could also put like Blessing of the Depths in there, which is a nice 8-man heal. So you've got some options, just depending on what you want to use. But as long as you have 2 supercharges on, that's considered gem spam. So 2 supercharges, Scrap and Eye the Gemini, and then whatever else is going to be your gem spam one. But primarily we want to focus on the main one. Technically, I wouldn't even use gem spam for water. They're going to get Flood of Power every 30 seconds regardless. And Word Bubble disappeared too. So let's get on and actually show you the rotations now. So water doesn't have a rotation per se for healing. Healing in general doesn't have a rotation. It's more situational. So if I water heal an elite raid and show you a video of it, it doesn't mean that you can duplicate what I did and use the exact same rotations at the exact same time, because your group's going to take damage at different times. They may block, others may not. So it's all situational. But I'll show you how how the rotation works itself. So first we'll touch on Purple Healing Ray and how it affects the priority heal, Soothing Mist, and Mending Wave. So we'll go up to the thing, pool here, we'll take some damage. And we'll keep healing ourselves here just with priority. So I can see I got purple light under me. So now if I proc it there, so now I proc the personal shield for myself. So that if we go back to Purple Healing Ray, that's Epion's Grace. So now, for example, if I did just with the group heal, I'm gonna have to do a little bit more just to keep myself up. Ironically, that was a page proc, but I'll show you that in a moment. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Problem is the group heal is too slow. Okay, so now I've got purple light. So now if I hit my group heal, it's going to grant me heal over time. So if we went back to it, purple healing ray, that's going to be revitalization there. So places a heal over time on myself and my allies, and it resets the cooldowns. And gives me the 20% power back. So that's how that works. And that's how purple healing ray works. Now in terms of Page of Destiny, you kind of saw it before, but show an actual example here. So I'm going to have to keep my group heal active. And we'll do after this expires. Okay. So now I've got enough stacks on me. We can refresh them. Now I'm going to wait and take the damage. And boom. You just saw that Page of Destiny proc. So that gives me a large heal depending on the amount of stacks I had. And that's a completely passive heal. That's going to be like a rescue heal. So if we go back to Page of Destiny. So it just means I had a certain amount of stacks on me, and then when that below my health went 40%, it triggered Revivify, which expelled all the stacks all at once onto me. So in terms of now using Riptide in the rotation, so we've got a couple options here. So if I wanted to, Bubble's not going to work here. Going to need Doomsday. But either way, so if you do like, if I place a shield on me, if I need to use another shield, I can do that. Place it again. Then I got to wait the 12 seconds, unless I'm using flood power, but we're not going to show that just yet. So for Solace, I can do Solace again. So now I got 2 healing over times active. And I've already gained purple light again, so I can do that because the amount of healing I'm going to get from Solace. So now, for example, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do Solace, Riptide, Solace, Flood of Power, Solace, Riptide, Solace. So I'm going to do Solace, Riptide, Solace, Flood of Power, Solace, Riptide, Solace. So now I have, not only do I have a personal shield active, that's still active, I have 4 times stacking healing over times. So I don't think this down. The Spore Cloud's not going to do enough damage to get through Flood of Power. But we can pop over to Doomsday for that example. But that's the example there. So Flood of Power is going to reset my entire cooldown bar. So then I can have 4 of those pools stacking at the same time for the entire group. So I've got healer times for the entire group stacking, and then contributing to Purple Healing Ray. So I'm going to get my Purple Healing Ray procs reset all the time very quickly because I have 4 times stacking heal over times active at the same time. So let's see if I can find Doomsday here, because I need to be able to take a little bit more damage. And if Superman's taking damage, you also see the heals on him. Oh, there's Superman, there's Doomsday. So he should be coming to Superman here, unless he's bugged. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to pop Bubble just so I don't take too much damage from the initial dot. So here, so we'll do Solace, Riptide, Solace, Flood of Power, Solace, Riptide, Solace. And basically I can just sit here in the dot. So Flood of Power, not only is it taking the entire dot damage from Doomsday, but now we can do Solace, Riptide again. Same thing, the damage I was taking from there. Frustrating that he's running away. But as you can see here, I'm healing all the sentries there with Solace. Yeah. So pretty much no matter what Doomsday does to me, I can heal through it, either by popping a shield or just keeping Solace active for healing over time. So picking up all the Sentry Lieutenants. There's my Page of Destiny proc on myself. Same thing, I can go back into Bubble if I need to be able to tank it, and then go back into putting on my heal over times active. So as long as the situation calls for it that your Solace is going to be annoying to the battlefield, then I'd always have Solace active. Oops. I didn't have this. Technically, just my soda's on my space bar, so it's kind of if I see red, I just kind of instinct hit it. The same thing. Superman's. Oh no, I'll get knocked out, but you get the idea with the rotation there. So no matter what I'm doing, if I'm doing Flood of Power or if I'm just doing Bubble to kind of sustain the group while I'm putting back into Solace, I've got plenty of options available to me for that rotation. And then all it is if I'm using Tempest Guard, same thing. So instead of resetting Solace, doing like that, I would reset Tempest Guard. So if the group is taking damage, we can go back there and kind of show an example. Okay, so I don't have to go back to Doomsday for this. I can just do it like on a Spore Cloud here. That's fine. We can pick one without a Lieutenant. So for example, now using Riptide in the rotation. So I'm just going to be using Riptide active. So Riptide gives me that 8-player shield. Now I can do Bubble, Solace Bubble, or Riptide Bubble. So what that allows me to do is that Bubble, since it's a 4-man shield, if I do Riptide on it, I have a high chance of putting Bubble on the players that didn't already have Bubble to start. And I can go back into my regular heals. So I still have my regular priority and group heal. And then I can always just do Tempest Guard in the entire group. That's going to be minimal damage, so then I can clip it with that. And have those shields active. So it all depends on the situation. If you're using your heal one, or you can also do, since Tempest Guard may break quickly, you can always do Tempest again. So then you guarantee that each group member has a Tempest again, and then put Bubble out to help to have a stronger shield on the rest. That's your option as well. And then keep up your regular heals. So if the entire group's taking a lot of damage, Tempest Bubble or Tempest Riptide, Tempest back to Bubble, and then you're basically waiting it out, and then using Flood of Power to reset everything again. So, like I said, no strict rotation for water healing. It's all going to be situational depending on what you're doing. If you're going to be just always cycling at your shields, so if you're just always cycling in Tempest Guard and Bubble, or if you're cycling your Solace just for healing over time. So either you're doing damage mitigation or you're doing damage healing, basically. That's your options for with water.